So 25-year-old ANC ward candidate, that's Boitumelo Thage, has set her sights on dislodging the DA in her area on the 1st of November. She believes skills development and training will solve the problem of high youth unemployment in Tshwane's Ward 98. She is also a published author of a children's book that challenges the exclusion of children from politics. In fact, Boitumelo joins us now live via our video link in Pretoria. Great to see you this morning, Boitumelo. And in fact, it's not your first foray into politics, perhaps mainstream politics, yes, but your first experience of being involved in politics came from your student days.
Sorry, I couldn't get that.
Your experience in politics. Tell us about your background in student politics.
I served in the student structures of the University of South Africa, namely the ANC Youth League and the ANC Women's League Young Women's Desk, as well as SASPO. And these are structures that have a huge impact in what happens in the student representative councils of the university.
Yeah.
So that's where I played a huge role within my university life, and I was also part of founding the student structure for psychology students.
Mm-hmm. And how do you reckon your experience as a student, might feed into helping you as you try to enter into mainstream politics?
I was serving as a student leader for about 4 to 5 years. I think equips you with broader knowledge on politics in general, and it helps you understand how to relate with different types of people from different types of backgrounds, and how you'd be able to speak to different types of people as well. So I think this would have prepared me to be able to handle different types of issues that would come up within the ward, and how to engage with different types of people, whether young, old, bridging a gap between the poor, missing middle, and the rich. And I think that's a very important quality to have within local government elections.
This is what we've been calling for, isn't it? Young people
Yes.
playing a bigger part in, not only getting a seat at the table, but getting a seat at the decision-making table insofar as governance is concerned.
Yes.
So tell us about your nomination. It was by the ANC Youth League and the endorsements that you received in your ward.
Yes. So the ANC Youth League within the ward came to I'd like to say, agreement that we need to have representation, especially where young people are concerned. So when my name was brought up, the ANC then had BGMs and community meetings where I was then nominated, and through the ANC processes, then my name was on the top after the selection process.
Was there anything in particular that happened? Was it your experience in student activism? Was there anything specific that led you into this path?
I'd like to believe it's my community work and my community development, especially in informal settlement, and the work that I've done with a few homeless people within the city of Tshwane. So I think that's something that people within the ANC ward and the ANC Youth League believe would have been a great skill and quality to have.
The points that you're campaigning on, in terms of what you hope to do for your community, should you indeed win?
Youth unemployment is skyrocketing across the country, and within my ward in particular, I strongly believe that young people need to be afforded opportunities to be able to have access to jobs and have access to funding their businesses, because I believe I live in a ward that has young people who are educated, young people who are vibrant and very intelligent, and these are young people that do not have access to opportunities. So I strongly believe in giving them access to these opportunities. And secondly to that, we have house break-ins, which are at a high level, and I think having more police visibility within the community would assist with reducing the crime rate and the house breaking rate, and also addressing skills development training where people living in informal settlements are concerned, so that they're able to be empowered and they're able to be independent rather than dependent on government or on grants and stuff like that. And there's also an issue where aging water pipes are concerned. So we'd have many water pipes that burst, and I think it speaks to the aging water pipes issue.
Yeah. The ward is currently held by the Democratic Alliance. Your chances, how do you reckon, in terms of the support that you've already received in endorsing you as a candidate, what do you reckon are your chances of leading your ward in these elections?
I think the ANC selecting young people to be at the forefront of these elections, or rather selecting young people to be almost in the majority as candidates, speaks to the broad idea that the ANC believes in young people. And I think that communities across the country are ready for young, innovative people to lead. And I think also within the ward, there's a possibility of people being open to the idea of not only history being made where young people would be leading, but where we would have gotten out of a DA-led ward. And it's very important that we believe strongly in change going forward.
I mean, all of the parties there who are governing in Tshwane, in terms of the coalition government that's currently in place there, you've lived in that region, as far as I know, your whole life. How has that coalition government, do you reckon, affected your life, the life of other residents, in terms of service delivery there?
Well, in terms of service delivery and other issues, the coalition government over the past 5 years has failed dismally. And I don't only speak because I'm a member of the ANC, but because I've seen that from a very young age, a lot of the things that were achieved during an ANC-led local municipality, and after 2016, there's been a lack of service delivery. There's been many potholes. There's been people within the ward or in suburban wards, especially in my zone. There's been a high level of unemployment, and I understand that that's a national issue, but it speaks to the fact that the coalition government failed to provide people with employment opportunities and failed to be readily accessible to people. And it's something that the ANC going into these elections believes that they need to be available to people 24/7 at all times. And as ward councillor candidates, it would be important that we are able to do better, not only than the coalition governments, but than what the ANC has done in the past.
So let's talk about the governing party. You're standing as the youngest ANC ward councillor candidate in Tshwane in Ward 98. The party itself is faced with a whole range of issues insofar as governance is concerned. Corruption is at the top of that list, so is political infighting, etc. You know, what do you make of the kinds of challenges facing the ANC at the moment, and how perhaps that might affect you and affect your ability to do your job if indeed you are elected?
I think acknowledging that there has been or that there is a problem within the ANC, especially where corruption is concerned, is something that we need to do, not only as members, but as members of the ANC, but as members of a broader society. And I think after we acknowledge such, then we need to understand that the ANC having a step-aside rule where they do not then, or that they distance themselves from certain individuals within the party who are seen to be either corrupt or not aligning with what the party believes in, is very important. It speaks to the idea that the ANC believes in correcting and self-correcting itself. And I think that it's very important that we, as ANC members, we never turn a blind eye from societal issues, especially corruption as well. So I also believe that it would have affected us as candidates or myself as a candidate if the ANC had allowed certain people to continue to be within positions of power, knowing that they have allegations against them, but the fact that they have a step-aside rule means that they are willing and they are knowledgeable on the fact that people need to be held accountable for their actions.
Boitumelo Thage, thanks very much indeed for your time. This is certainly what, civil society, what we've all been calling for, that younger people get a seat at the table. Well, she is one of the youngest ward councillor candidates. She's standing in Tshwane's Ward 98. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.